जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कलयुग पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणि निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणी। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। प्रशांत हो भागवतम उधर। ऑडियो चेक अच्छे से टाइट से लगा है ना? Okay. So I welcome all of you to this morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. So today we are going to discuss from Canto 4, chapter 21, verse number 12. Sarvatra skalitadesh sapta dvipeka dandadrik अन्यत्र ब्राह्मणा कुलाद अन्यत्र अचितो गोत्र सर्वत्र स्खलिता देशे सप्तद्वीपैक दंडदृक् अन्यत्र ब्राह्मणा कुलाद अन्यत्र अच्युतो गोत्रः सर्वत्र स्खलिता देशः सप्तद्वीपैक दंडदृक् अन्यत्र ब्राह्मणा कुलाद अन्यत्र अच्युतो गोत्रः। Can recite? सर्वत्र स्खलिता देशे सप्तद्वीपैक दंडदृक् अन्यत्र ब्राह्मणा कुलात् अन्यत्र अच्युत गोत्रः सर्वत्र स्खलिता देशे सप्तद्वीपैक दंडदृक् अन्यत्र ब्राह्मणा कुलात् अन्यत्र अच्युतो गोत्र सर्वत्र स्खलिता देशे सप्तद्वीपैक दंडदृक् अन्यत्र ब्राह्मणा कुलात् अन्यत्र अच्युत गोत्रः। माताजी, सर्वत्र स्खलिता देशे सप्तद्वीपैक दंडदृक् अन्यत्र ब्राह्मणा कुलात् अन्यत्र अच्युत गोत्रः। What word meaning? Sarvatra, every, askalita, irrevocable, adesha, order, saptadvipa, 7 islands, eka, 1, dandadrik, the ruler who holds the scepter, anyatra, except, Brahmana Kulad, Brahmanas and saintly person, Anyatra, except Achyuta Gotraha, the descendants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vaishnavas. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Maharaj Prithu was an unrivaled king and possessed the scepter for ruling all the 7 islands on the surface of the globe. No one could disobey his irrevocable orders but the saintly persons, the Brahmanas, and the descendants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Vaishnavas. So in this chapter we are discussing now how the sage Maitra is discussing with Vidura and he is explaining all these things about Prithu Maharaj, and after explaining Maitra stops. He thinks that it is done now. I am done with the Prithu Maharaj's pastime. So then Vidura immediately start summarizing what all he heard from Maitra, and is encouraging Maitra that don't stop here, tell me elaborately in more detail. Prithu Maharaj was the incarnation of Lord Krishna, he was a Satyavesh avatar. So I want to hear in more detail. Sometimes the speaker is telling and the speaker sees the audience, and if the audience is not so encouraging, then he summarize everything and the class finishes in very quickly. So then it depends on the audience. So then audience role is that he encourages the speaker to speak in more detail. So here also Vidura, he just summarizes what all the Maitra had told from the beginning, and he encourages, don't stop here, I want to hear it in more detail, please tell me in detail. And then again Maitra begins. And then he tells how the Prithu Maharaj, because in one sense Prithu Maharaj was performing the yajna, and then Lord comes and he told that stop in 99, and Prithu Maharaj obeys Lord. In one sense that was the end. But then saying that pastime, Maitra was stopping, but then Vidura told that please tell me in detail. Prithu Maharaj was there and he was ruling the kingdom. So what all things he did? And then Maitra begins that actually he was such a pious king and he was respecting Brahmanas, Vaishnavas. And in this chapter you will see in the end of the chapter how Prithu Maharaj was giving such nice instruction to his citizens. That was like the essence of this chapter that will begin now. So here he is telling Sarvatra Askalita Deshe, Sarvatra, everywhere. Askalita means unchallenged. Nobody could stand in front of Prithu Maharaj. He was Askalita. Adesha means order. Whatever order Prithu Maharaj is to give, that order has to be followed. Nobody could challenge his order. That was the power of Prithu Maharaj. Sapta Dvipeka Dandadrig. And is he was ruling only on India or this planet, this area? No. Sapta Dvipa, all the 7 islands. The order of Prithu Maharaj was followed in all the 7 islands. Means he was the king of the whole world. Sapta Dvipeka Dandadrik. And there was a condition, except 2 groups. It is not applicable to them. Who are the Anyatra Brahmana Kula, except the Brahmanas, the saintly person, and Achyuta Gotra, the Vaishnavas. So just we can see that Prithu Maharaj, when just after this episode, after some time, the 4 Kumaras will come. And he was such a powerful king, but when the 4 Kumaras will come, very humbly he was washing the feet of the 4 Kumaras. And he was offering arati to the 4 Kumaras, and very humbly he was sitting at the feet of the 4 Kumaras, and he was hearing katha from the 4 Kumaras. So like that we can see in the life of Prithu Maharaj only how he was following what he was telling. So let's try to read the purport. Prabhupada very nicely he writes the purport and he explains each and every point of this sloka in the purport in detail. So before that, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a commentary on this purport, and he explains what exactly, who are the Brahmanas and who are the Vaishnavas. Sometimes we get confused, who is Brahmana, who is Vaishnava, and who is exalted, what is the position of both. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a light on this. And he tells that concerning scripture, he respects Brahmanas because they were the acharyas of the Vedas. Because the Brahmanas, not so-called Brahmanas, the Brahmanas ideally, they are the Chaturveda, Triveda. Once I was going in an auto and that driver was a Trivedi and he told, Prabhuji, hum bhi Brahmana, and he opened his thread and he saw that I am Trivedi, but we don't know the one word of the Vedas. Trivedi means one who mastered the three Vedas. The three Vedas are on his mouth. So here Chakravarti Thakur is telling that Brahmanas are the acharyas of the Vedas. They study the Vedas so systematically and they explaining the meaning of the Vedas to the citizen. This is the meaning of the Brahmanas. And then what is the Vaishnavas? Vaishnavas they are the guru of the mantras and the citizen. They are ideally, they are like the acharyas, the guru who guide the citizen and they give diksha to that, because the person only one, he is a devotee of Lord Krishna, he can only initiate the living entities. The Vaishnavas are like the Vaishnavas, they can give diksha to the people and they can connect to the Krishna. That is the role of the Vaishnavas. So Chakravarti very nicely explained what is Brahman and what is Vaishnavas. So now let's try to read the purport, and what we'll do, we'll read the purport and wherever an important point will come, we'll discuss it. And you will see how Prabhupada is putting light on this sloka. Saptadvipa. So Prabhupada is first explaining the first line, the Saptadvipa, the second line. What is this Saptadvipa? Saptadvipa refers to the 7 great islands or continents on the surface of the globe. Asia, Europe, Africa, North America, South America, Australia, and Oceania, the Antarctica island. These are the 7 islands. In the modern age, people are under the impression that during the Vedic period of prehistoric ages, America and many other parts of the world had not been discovered. But that is not a fact. Prithu Maharaj ruled over the world many thousands of years before the so-called prehistoric age, and it is clearly mentioned here that in those days, not only were all the different parts of the world known, but they were ruled by one king, that is Maharaj Prithu. People, scientists, they say, nah, these islands were discovered recently. But here it was in the Bhagavatam 5,000 years ago, and they were writing the 7 islands. That means it was existing much before. And then Prabhupada writes, the country where Prithu Maharaj resided must have been India, because it is stated in the previous verse. Yesterday Gaurang Darshan Prabhu was taking that verse. It was written there, he lived in the tract of land between river Ganges and Yamuna. And where Ganges and Yamuna flows? In India. So that means Prithu Maharaj was residing in India. This tract of land, which is called Brahmavarta, consists of what is known in the modern age as a portion of Punjab and northern India. Means apparently the area of Delhi, that is at the Hastinapur, the central part of the India. It is clear that the kings of India once ruled all the world and their culture was Vedic. So here Prabhupada is giving a very important point that so many in the history we read that the Britishers were ruling India, and before the Britishers, the Mughals were ruling India, the Portuguese were ruling India, and India were ruled by so many persons. But here Prabhupada is telling, before that, in the ancient times, if we go to the history, actually India was ruling the whole earth. Then I was thinking that is there any proof that how can we, the Bhagavatam is there, but the modern history, the so-called modern philosophers, they also wrote so many journals, and in that journals they write that the Sanskrit language is connected to each and every continent of this world. And then I was doing little research how it is Sanskrit is connected. Then I came out few points. They're very interesting points. All the names of all this continent what Prabhupada is writing, that has the origin from the Sanskrit language. And because of the mispronunciation according to the time, place, circumstance, the name changed now. So I am just telling each and every continent name and how it is connected to Sanskrit. So a little bit of my curiosity to understand this. So the first is the Asia. So Asia means, if you say Asia is the continent where the sun rises first, the most eastern part of the globe. The sun rises first in the Asia. So in the Sanskrit, the meaning is Isanya Bhaga, means most eastern bhag, where the sun comes first. And this Ishana Bhaga, mispronounced and misspelled, and it becomes Asia. So that is the connection with the Sanskrit. Ishana Bhaga, the Asia continent, it is the most eastern part of the globe where the sun comes the first. And then Africa. So according to, if you search in the Wikipedia, of Africa, Aprica, the meaning of the Africa is sunny, where there is a lot of sunlight. So in the Sanskrit, what is the name of the sun? Surya or Aditya. So from the word Aditya, this meaning comes Africa. And then according to the time, place, circumstance, according to that region, the name becomes Africa. So that's how it is connected with Sanskrit language again. And then Australia. So it is a little interesting, Australia. So in Sanskrit language, the name of the ostrich, the name of ostrich in Sanskrit language is Ustra Pakshi. Ustra Pakshi. That is the name of the ostrich. So Sanskrit is very common, where the Aushad you get, that become Aushadalaya. Where you eat the Bhojana, that become Bhojanalaya. So where you will get Ustra Pakshi, that become what? Ustralaya. It's very simple, na? So that the name of that region in Sanskrit language is Ustralaya. But because of, again, time, place, circumstance, according to that area, that people, they mispronounce it as an Australia. That becomes Australia. And also in Prabhupada writes purport in the first canto, that when Yudhishthira Maharaj was ruling the whole globe, in nowadays also if you see, India, they keep the weapons in an island. Why? Because it's very safe. And if some mismanagement happen or something happen, that it won't harm the citizen, because it's an island. So now that time the Yudhishthira Maharaj are ruling the whole globe. So Australia is a small continent. It's like an island for him. So he was keeping all his weapons in Australia. So in Sanskrit also we say Astralaya, the place where they keep the astras. So in that way also the name Australia, it came out. And very interesting, America. What could be the connection to Sanskrit? I was finding out America, how can it be connected? And then that journal, they wrote that it is connected with Mount Meru. So the Mount Meru, the name Meru mountain, and that misspelled, and with the time it became America. That's how the name came from, the Meru mountain. And then the Europe is very common. They understand that the European language that has so many connecting link with the Sanskrit language, so many words that is directly taken from the Sanskrit. This is the most common language that match with the Sanskrit, the European language that is there. And then the Antarctica in the Sanskrit language, because this is the southernmost pole of the globe. And there is a nice Sanskrit, it was very long, so I couldn't understand that. It was explaining how this is the most southern part of the globe that was connected with the Antarctic. That's how, according to the modern philosopher also, they believe that all these 7 islands that is connected with the Sanskrit language, and it is connected with the mother of the Sanskrit language, the India. And from the India, the kings were ruling all these 7 continents. And then the Prabhupada writes, the word Askalita indicates that orders by the king could not be disobeyed by anyone in the entire world. So you can see in the Treta Yuga also, when Lord Ram, he killed the Ravana, that was the ideal scenario, that when a king is a devotee of Lord Krishna, he tried to the goal is that not to control the whole world, but the goal is to, because the king is a Vaishnava, and if the citizen will follow the king, then automatically the citizen will be uplifted, because the king is following the Vaishnavism. That is how when the Lord Ram also, after killing Ravana, he also performed the Aswamedha Yajna. And he sent all the brothers in the four directions to see whether all are following me or not. And that time what happened? When they were going in that jungle, who captures the Love and Kush, they captures the horse. And practically Lakshmana, Bharata, Satrughna, they fought with the Lava Kusha, but they were defeated. Lava Kusha easily they defeated these three brothers. And they come to Ram and they say that two small children defeated us. And Ram was surprised, my God, two children defeated you? And practically Ram goes there and Ram fought with Lava and Kusha. And then Ram defeats Lava and Kush. So the point is that all the kings, everyone should be subjugated under the Vaishnava king, so the Vaishnavism could be spread in the whole kingdom, whole globe. If you see in the recent history, when King Ashoka was the king, and he was the follower of the Buddhism, and because he was the king, he made the Buddhism to spread so rapidly. That was the power of the king. That is the reason why Prabhupada is telling Askalitam, the Vaishnava king should rule and he should bring all the king under his subjugation. Same thing happened in the Dwapar Yuga also. After the Mahabharata war, when King Yudhishthira was the king. So after killing all the demons, Krishna told Yudhishthira Maharaj to perform a Aswamedha Yajna, so that whoever is left over demons, they will come under you, or else they have to die. And then Yudhishthira Maharaj sent his four brothers in the four directions. But who was not following Yudhishthira Maharaj? One king was not ready to follow Yudhishthira Maharaj. Jarasandha. He told, I will not follow Yudhishthira Maharaj. Then Krishna, Arjuna, Bhima, three went to Jarasandha. Okay, then ready for the fight. Jarasandha thought, oh, Krishna, I won't fight with you. You are a ranchod. I want to, don't fight with you. Already my prestige is gone. Then he looks to Arjuna, you are a small boy, I won't fight with you. Then he looks to Bhima, he is somewhat equal with me, I'll fight with Bhima. And then Krishna kills Jarasandha. So that is how Prabhupada is highlighting here. The king should influence the whole globe and should spread the Vaishnava philosophy. And then Prabhupada writes, such orders, however, were never issued to control saintly person. Although the king is so powerful, but he never tried to control the saints and the descendant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. So the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, these two categories will never controlled by the king. You can see, recently we went to the Dwarka Yatra, and in that Dwarka Yatra, the Pujari was so nicely was explaining that when Sudama, because in the Dwarka city is there, and from there the 3 hour is Porbandar. Porbandar is the birthplace of Sudama. So when we saw there, then devotees were, oh, this is the reason why Mahatma Gandhi was so famous and austere, because Sudama Vipra was the, this is the place of the Sudama Vipra. So he inherited the qualities from the Sudama. So when Sudama went from Porbandar to Dwarka, just imagine when the Dwarpal told to Krishna that, my dear Lord, one Brahmana is there at your gate. So Krishna said, bring him inside the house. Well, but he was not in a proper condition. The cloth were, it was torn apart, and he don't have a kathau, sandal, and you are looking like a beggar. So then Krishna tells that, is it a condition for a Brahmana to wear proper nice clothes, then only he can become a Brahmana? That is not a prerequisite. Brahmana means he should be well equipped with all saintly qualities. So then Krishna tells that, please bring him inside the house. And when Sudama comes to Krishna, in front of Krishna, Krishna practically washed the feet of Sudama. That's how Krishna is exhibiting that, that a Kshatriya royal order should worship the Brahmanas. And then, and when Krishna was ruling in the Dwarka, so once upon a time Narada Muni also comes to Dwarka. And that time also, Krishna shows everyone how to worship a Brahmana, and Krishna practically washed Narada Muni's lotus feet. And then Krishna again to show that if you will offend a Vaishnava, Brahmana, then how the repercussion will come. So when all the Yadus, they were so puffed up, this is the pastime of Krishna only, want to show to the world. And they tells to Narada that, oh my dear Rishi, please tell what is in the womb of Samba. And actually they kept a pillow inside the cloth of Samba, and they tells to Narada that let's see how much knowledge he has. And then they ask that, oh Narada Muni, please tell, you know the past, present, future. So what, whether the Samba will go gives rise to a boy or a girl? And then Narada Muni gives a smile. Yes, yes, yes. He will give rise to a child, but not a boy or not a girl, but a mushala, a iron club, a lump of iron. And then the all Yadus, they become panic, my God. Narada Muni has given a curse, what will we do? And then approaches to the king. And the king tells, okay, destroy the lump. But no matter whatever they did, that at last the Yadu dynasty, they fought between each other and they destroy each other. So Krishna wanted to teach the whole world that even though you are my descendant, but if you will disobey, if you will offend a Vaishnava, then the reaction will come. So this is what the Krishna wanted to teach through this pastime. And then Prabhupada writes, the Supreme Lord is known as Achyuta. The Lord Krishna is addressed as such by Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Senayar ubhayar madhye ratham stapayar me Achyuta. Achyuta refers to one who doesn't fall because he is never influenced by the modes of material nature. Achyuta means fall. Achyuta means one who never falls in his order, in his instruction, in his statement. So that is the Achyuta. And he will fall at any cost. Just imagine, Lord Krishna is the charioteer of Arjuna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is becoming servant of his devotee. So that's how the South Indian Brahmana was crying, seeing this picture. When Lord Chaitanya, when all the Brahmanas were laughing at the South Indian Brahmana, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells that because he was illiterate, he couldn't read, and he was trying to read because the Guru has instructed. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him that, oh my dear Brahmana, please tell me that what you are doing. So he told that I am reading Gita. But you are reading Gita, that's okay. But why the tears are coming out of your eye? Why you are crying? And then the South Indian Brahmana tells that, actually, you know what happened? When I am reading Gita, the Gita, if you see the first picture, Krishna is riding the chariot and Arjuna was standing behind. So he tells that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the charioteer of Arjuna. Just by seeing this picture, my heart is melting and I am crying. The God who controls everyone is become, just imagine the servant to become a charioteer, it's not so easy. It's not like becoming a driver of a car. To become a charioteer, someone was telling that because in a war field, if you want to instruct the charioteer to go left, you can't tell, "Arey, driver, turn left." What you have to do? You have to kick the driver in the left side of his back. And if you want to turn right, you have to kick the driver on the right side of his back. Now imagine what Arjuna might be doing in the war field. He is kicking the Supreme Personality of God throughout the war 18 days. That is the meaning of here the Achyuta. The Lord is ready to get kicked by his devotee. Left and right, left and right. Just imagine how many times Arjuna is kicking Lord Krishna. So hearing this, thinking this, the Brahmana was crying. So then the Lord Chaitanya tells that all these Pandita Brahmana scholars, Chaturvedi, Trivedi, they were reading the Gita. They by-hearted all the 700 slokas of Gita. They can quote left, right, center. They can quote from the behind to the front, front to the behind. But they couldn't understand the real essence of Gita. But my dear Brahmana, you have understood the real essence of Bhagavad Gita. Because you understood who God is, what is a Vaishnavas. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells. And then Prabhupada writes, when a living entity falls down to the material world from its original position, he becomes Achyuta. Means that he forgets his relationship with Achyuta. Every living entity is a part and parcel or a son of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When influenced by the modes of material nature, a living entity forgets this relationship and thinks in terms of different species of life. But when he again comes to the original consciousness, he doesn't observe such bodily designation, This is indicated in Bhagavad Gita by the word Pandita Samadarshina. The Pandita sees every living entity as a part and parcel of the God. Material designation create differentiation in terms of caste, color, creed, nationality, and different gotra, family designation are distinction in terms of the material body. So Prabhupada is highlighting what is this Varna Asrama. Different Varnas are there and different Asramas are there. So in the material point of view, people differentiate between different Varnas, different Asramas. Recently we were discussing that time Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu was highlighting how the Varna Asrams are there. So people fight based on the different Varna. I am a Brahmana, I am a Kshatriya, I am a Vaishya, I am a Sudra. And again people fight different based on the different asramas, brahmacharya asrama, grahastha asrama. So I was remembering Srimad Bhagavad Puran from the 9th canto, the pastime of Sarmishta and Devyani. So Devyani was the daughter of Sukracharya and Sarmishta was the daughter of a king, Vishaparva. So Sarmishta being the queen, she was taking bath in the river and all the dasis were there. And with her, Devyani was also there. And what happened exactly, that time Lord Shiva with Parvati was passing through that road. The moment they saw that Lord Shiva is coming, all the ladies, they came out of the river and they were wearing their cloth. And that time, by mistakenly, Sarmishta wore the cloth of Devyani. And guess what happened? Devyani, because he was from a Brahmanical culture, she became so angry on Sarmishta and she started scolding Sarmishta like anything. She tells that you are like a crow and you generally crow. Sometimes when the Brahmanas they do yajna, crow comes and steals the butter, the clarified butter. So then Devyani tells that you are like a crow who have stolen my garments. And look what Sarmishta was a royal lady, right? He was from a Kshatriya background. And Kshatriya background, already their blood is very hot. And she becomes so angry and she tells that you Brahmanas like a dog. They stand in front of our house for begging. And when you give our alms, then you take. And you are daring to tell like this. And then Sarmishta becomes so furious. And what she does? She pushes Devyani inside a well. And then she goes to the king, goes to his house. And then by that time the Ayati Maharaj was passing by that time, and that is a long story. Ayati Maharaj helps to Devyani to come up and they get married, and then Devyani goes to the house. And look what Devyani does. Devyani tells to his father Sukracharya. Sukracharya, he was a powerful guru, and Sukracharya, Sukra means semen. The person who has a lot of connectivity with his family lineage, he is a Sukracharya. So then Sukracharya, when he hears all the story of Devyani, he got sentimentally attracted to Devyani. Then he tells, okay, what do you want? Devyani tells that, I want to take a revenge. Then Sukracharya, okay, let's go to the king. And then Sukracharya was coming towards the Vrishaparva. And then Vrishaparva got the news that Sukracharya is approaching. And just see, Vrishaparva was an intelligent king. And before Sukracharya reaches Vrishaparva only directly goes and he offers his obeisances to Sukracharya. And he begs forgiveness. Then Sukracharya tells that, see, I can't beg you forgiveness. You have to listen what my daughter will tell. And then Sukracharya brings Devyani. Okay, what do you want? What punishment do you want on the Sarmishta? And Devyani tells that, I want Sarmishta to be my dasi. Just imagine it, queen. And she had a lot of dasis. And here Devyani is telling, I want this Sarmishta to become my dasi. And top of that condition that she should not have any child from the husband. So that's how the fight between a Brahman and Kshatriya. Here Prabhupada is highlighting that this is a typical competition happens between a Brahman and Kshatriya. And then Prabhupada tells that different asramas also, they also fight between each other. We know the famous story of Dasirathi, Ramanujacharya and the Dasirathi, how Sannyasis were envious of Dasirathi. So the main thing is that Prabhupada explains in the purport that actually this Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, they are all have important role according to the time and place and circumstance. It's like it compares with a body. Like we have a head, we have a hand, we have a belly, we have a leg. We can't say that head is very important and the other part of the body is not important. So then if you cut the neck, then the head is also dying. Okay. So all the four has their role. Just like the hand, with the hand we eat food. And then the food goes to the belly. And the belly it gets digested. And it nourishes all the limbs of the body. And if you want to go to a place, then the legs helps you to go to that place. And then the head, the brain, that helps you to take the right decision. Just imagine if you have all the body part intact, but the brain is not working. That means what? You are mad, right? You can't do anything good thing. Similarly, the whole Kshatriya, Varna, then the Vaishya, the Sudra, all are good, but the Brahmana class is not there. That means you don't know what you are doing. The car is running with full speed, but the destination is not clear where you are running. So what is the goal in running the car? So that is what the fourth Prabhupada is explaining. And then Prabhupada writes in the purport, but when one comes to Krishna consciousness, he immediately becomes one of the Achyuta Gotra or descendant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus becomes transcendental to all the consideration of caste, creed, color and nationality. No matter whatever caste you may have, the moment you are becoming the devotee of Lord Vishnu, you are becoming Achyuta Gotraha. You are coming to descendant of the Achyuta Krishna. We can see the pastime of Advaita Acharya. When Advaita Acharya was doing the Shraddha ceremony, he gives the first Shraddha to whom? Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was born in the family of a Muslim or Yavanas. Means according to the Vedic, they are like untouchable because they eat flesh of cows and they do all abominable activity. So Haridas Thakur was untouchable, but here because Haridas Thakur was a devotee of Lord Krishna and he had such a faith on the holy name, chanting of the holy name, so Advaita Acharya gave the first Shraddha, first prasad to Haridas Thakur. And then Haridas Thakur was telling, my dear Advaita Acharya, please don't give to me. There are so qualified Brahmanas are there. Please give to them. What the society will tell. No. You are by feeding you, I am feeding 10 million Brahmanas, he tells. Just by feeding one Haridas Thakur, Advaita Acharya is telling, I am feeding 10 million Brahmanas. So what is the point feeding all these Brahmanas? If you will eat and you are happy, then my Shraddha ceremony is success. So that is how, not by the birth, but by the karma, by the gunas. And then Prabhupada writes, Prithu Maharaj had no control over the Brahmana Kula, which refers to the learned scholars in the Vedic knowledge, nor over the Vaishnavas who are above the consideration of the Vedic knowledge. It is therefore said, Prabhupada quotes a nice verse, reference from the Shastra. Arche Vishnu Siladhir Gurus Naramati Vaishnava Jati Buddhi. So very nicely it tells that Arche Vishnu Siladhi. If you consider the deities, Archa Vigraha to be mere stone, that is the greatest offense. A person will go to hell for that. And we have our Lord Madan Mohan here. Madan Mohan, so many times when you bring the guest before the Madan Mohan and we ask question, okay, observe properly. Are you thinking anything different in this deity? And they observe very nicely. And then sometimes they guess, sometimes they couldn't guess. Then we give a clue, hint. Okay, look nicely to the flute. And they say, the flute is broken, they say. Here the flute is not straight, the flute is broken. And then they become curious and they ask question. Okay, Prabhuji, tell me why the flute is broken. Then you get a clue to tell the pastime. Just see, Lord, to get the service from his devotee, the Lord is ready to bend his hand. just to get the devotional service from the queen. So deity is not an ordinary stone, it is non-different than Krishna himself. Pratima nai tumi sakshat brajendra nandan vipra lage kara tumi akarya karan. The pastime of Sakshi Gopal. The elder Brahmana, when he promised to the younger Brahmana that I will give my daughter, but the later he doesn't follow the promise. That time the younger Brahmana goes to the Vrindavan and he tells to the Gopal that, my dear Gopal, please come to give your Sakshi so that the elder Brahmana's dharma will be intact. So Lord tells that, oh, I am a deity. How can I go? So then younger Brahmana was very clever. He tells that, you are a deity but you are speaking, right? So if you can speak, then you can walk also. And then the Lord was caught. Then Lord, okay, I'll go. But there is a condition. So what condition? So you will not look back. You have to go straight in the front and I'll go in the back. And every day you have to offer me 1 kilo of rice. Because Lord is supposed to come to Odisha, na? So he wanted rice. So 1 kilo of rice every day he will cook and he will offer me. That is the condition. And like that's how the Sakshi Gopal, the name was earlier Gopal because he came to give Sakshi, the name becomes Sakshi Gopal. And still today we can take the darshan of Sakshi Gopal 10 kilometers from Puri. The place is there. So Arche Vishnu Siladhir Gurus Naramati. If you consider the spiritual master as an ordinary guru, then that is the greatest offense. In Bhagavad Gita also you can see in the beginning the mentality of Duryodhana and Yudhishthir Maharaj. Duryodhana was telling Pasyetam Pandu Putranam Acharya Mahatim Chamo Vyudham Drupada Putrena. He was telling to the Dronacharya Vyudha Drupada Putrena. Just imagine Duryodhana is telling to his spiritual master that, oh my dear Guru, see nicely the Drupada Drishta Dhumna, how he is arranging the phalanx, how he is arranging the army of the Pandavas. Your disciple is now becoming commander-in-chief of the Pandavas. So don't have this affectionate relation to your disciple, fight properly and kill them. So here the disciple is instructing the Guru to fight properly. That is the mentality of Duryodhana. But in contrast we can see Yudhishthir Maharaj. In the beginning of the war, what Yudhishthir Maharaj did? He went near Dronacharya and he touches the lotus feet of Dronacharya and he begged blessing. And Dronacharya told, Vijay Bhava. And Duryodhana became angry. What? You are giving Vijay Bhava to the opponent. And they are supposed to be killed, right? And you are giving blessing to them to Vijay Bhava. What is this? So then Dronacharya told, you foolish, you are such a fool that if you will also touch my lotus feet, I will tell Vijay Bhava. But he will not do. Because you are arrogant. You are proud. So this is the difference between Yudhishthira Maharaj and the Duryodhana. So it was told that when Duryodhana used to go, Duryodhana used to, because when the king goes, they keep umbrella on the top of the king, right? So that sun ray won't fall on the head. So Duryodhana used to tell her, don't keep anything on top of my head. I am the king. There should not be anything on my head. So that was the arrogance of Duryodhana. So he was walking in the sunlight also, but he doesn't have any umbrella on the head. That was the foolishness, pride of Duryodhana. And then we can see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita also nice pastime comes of Ramachandra Puri and Ishwara Puri. Both were the disciple of Madhavendra Puri and both were serving Madhavendra Puri. But in the last stage of Madhavendra Puri's life, he was chanting the sloka Ai Dina Dayadra Natha Hai. That time, our Ramachandra Puri thinks that what is chanting? Ai Dina Dayadra Natha, chanting the names of the gopis. He tells, oh my dear Guru, chant Brahman, focus on the Brahman, meditate on the Brahman. So Madhavendra Puri becomes so furious. Oh rascal, get out from here. I don't want to see your face. So just see, because Ramachandra Puri was associating with the Mayavadis, so he was get deviated. And he was instructing his Guru to meditate on the Brahman. But in contrast, our Ishwara Puri, he was serving the Guru such a nice way, such a out of humility, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahisuna, he was cleaning the stool and urine and was serving the Guru such a nice way that the Guru Madhavendra Puri pleased with Ishwara Puri to such an extent that he blessed Ishwara Puri with the love of Godhead. And the result is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya, when he came to this earthly planet, he accepted Ishwara Puri as his spiritual master. So Lord, you want to show that if you behave properly with the Guru and please Guru, I worship that person. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Ishwara Puri. Recently our Srutakiti Prabhu was telling one pastime of Prabhupada. So he was worshipping his own deities. And then Prabhupada told, where is Srutakiti? So Prabhupada, he is worshipping his own deity. Then he called him right now and he came. First Guru Puja, then your Puja. So first thing is the worshipping the Guru. That is the first criteria. Then you worship your Lord, deity. So the first priority should be always given to the spiritual master. And then becomes Vaishnava Jati Buddhi. So if you see a Vaishnavas on the base of, sometimes they ask प्रभु जी आप आपका कौन सा रिलीजन, आपका कौन सा जाति है? The question itself is very offensive. So asking a Vaishnava about his jati is very offensive. That's how Prabhupada, when he was in the Mayapur, there were so many Prabhupada's god brother, they used to come Mayapur, and Prabhupada used to observe that whenever his Western disciple used to cook bhoga prasad, and so many his god brother used to not take. And then Prabhupada used to become very furious and angry. But they were asking donation from the Western disciples. Please help us our matha in building, constructing. And then Prabhupada used to laugh and tell, oh, you don't want the food cooked by my Western disciple, but you want the money from my Western disciple. That time you are not differentiating, you are wanting the money. And the Prabhupada used to chastise sometimes his god brothers also. So when you see the Vaishnava based on his jati, it's very offensive and it should not be done at any cost. Vaishnava Vaishnavanam Kalimala Mathane Pada Tirthe Ambu Buddhi. So when you see the Ganges or the Charanamrita to be an ordinary water, that is also very offensive. In this way, here Prabhupada quotes this sloka. And then the conclusion, Prabhupada gives the last paragraph to this purport and he gives the conclusion. The conclusion is that from the fact presented in this verse, it appears that people in general should be controlled by a king until they come to the platform of a Vaishnavas, Brahmanas, who are not under the control of anyone. Brahmana refer to one who knows Brahman or impersonal feature, absolute truth, and a Vaishnava, one who serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada again tells Brahmana means Brahma Janati Brahmana. One who knows about the Brahman is a Brahmana, and Vaishnava means one who knows that Krishna is the Supreme. Like there are three features, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. So Brahmana he knows about the Brahman. But Vaishnavas, he knows the complete picture. He knows that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he serves Krishna. So Prabhupada is telling that the king rules everyone, but if a Brahmana or a Vaishnava, then king follows them, Brahmana and Vaishnava. He doesn't rule over them. And we can see in the Kali it is mentioned, Prabhupada writes in one purport, mostly in the 12th canto, that the last Brahmana in Kali Yuga is Chanakya Pandit. We can see the life of Chanakya Pandit. He was not living inside the village and he was living outside the village. And he was taking a penny of the king also. Because if he will take something, then he will have to obligate it to the king. He have to follow the king. And he was totally independent. He used to beg and whatever he used to get, he used to eat that. So that his words will be followed by all the kings. So that was the Chanakya Pandit. He was the last Brahmana, Prabhupada writes in the Kali Yuga. And then all the Brahmana got degraded. So we can see the conclusion here is that as for the principle, Brahmana, Vaishnava should be independent so that they guide the society. So Prabhupada used to tell that ISKCON society, role being in the Vaishnava community, Because inside the Vaishnava community, we have to be very sensitivity, because all are Vaishnavas, all are devotees of Lord Krishna. So if our dealings are not proper, and if you commit Vaishnava aparad, then that will become an obstacle in our devotional service. Because in the Vaishnava there are again three categories of Vaishnava: Uttama Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, Kanishta Adhikari. So in the Vaishnava society, one has to be very careful in dealings with the Vaishnavas. Because when you commit a Vaishnava aparadha comes from the word aparadha. Apa means taking away, radha means Radharani. So that activity which takes you away from Radha. Radharani is like when you approach Krishna, you approach to Radharani, right? And by the mercy of Radharani, when he allows and he sanctions you, then by the recommendation of Radharani, Krishna accepts you. But when you commit aparadh, you are going away from Radharani. You are no more in the subjugation of Radharani. That means you can't progress in your devotional service. Halt aa jata hai. There is an obstacle in your devotional path. So that's how, being a sadhaka, Vaishnavas, we have to be very careful in dealings with the Vaishnavas, and that's how here we can learn the lessons that to please Krishna, we have to be very sensitive in our dealings with the Vaishnavas, and by pleasing Vaishnavas, automatically we will please Radharani, and we can please Krishna, and then we can progress in our devotional service. जय श्री ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवत पुराण की, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। हरे कृष्णा।
एक घंटे ले लिया हमने
9:28 10 चालू करो।
क्या वो लाइव क्लास में आप बोल रहे हैं